Hey everyone, how are you? In this video, we are going to solve the lead code problem of the day, and the problem is minimum equal sum of two arrays after replacing zeros. The problem category is of medium level, but I would say this is actually very easy question. Let us see how. The input given in the problem is two integer arrays, and the integers are either 0 or positive integers. For example, 1, 2, 3, or so on. Now the output we need to give is the minimum equal sum of two arrays. We need to focus on the fact that we need to provide the minimum equal sum, right? So we need to make sure that the sum of both the arrays are equal and they has to be minimum. And if it is not possible to make the sum of both the arrays equal, then the output will be -1. Now how are we going to make the arrays equal? That is, the sum of the arrays equal is based on the task. The task provides us few steps which we can follow to make the sum of both the arrays equal. We can replace the 0 with strictly positive integers. So given the two integers, we can replace the zeros in the integers with 1, 2 or 3 or more than that. That is any number which is strictly positive integers. So any number which is 1 or more than 1. Okay. Now the next thing is the target which we are trying to achieve is to make the sum of both the arrays equal, right? And also we need to make sure that the sum is minimum. Now let us understand the question with few examples. So example 1 is when the nums1, the first array is 3, 2, 0, 1, 0 and the nums2 is 6, 5 and 0. The output in this case is 12. That is, for the given input, 12 is the minimum equal sum possible. Now how can we say this? Let us try to understand that. In nums2 we have 1, 0, right? And the question says that we can replace the zeros with any strictly positive integers. But the question also says that we need to find the minimum possible sum. Now we are replacing this 0 with strictly positive integers like 1, 2 or 3. And now to make it minimum, we are only going to replace zeros with 1. Okay. So if we replace 0 with 1, this is going to be 6, 5 and 1, right? 6 plus 5 plus 1 is 12. So the minimum sum possible for nums2 is 12, right? What about nums1? It is 3, 2, then 1, 0 and 2, 0 and there is 1, right? So without replacing, we are having 3 plus 2 plus 1, that is 6 as the sum. But we can replace the zeros to make it 12. Now let me explain you what we are trying to do. In nums2, we have 1, 0, right? So we want minimum sum. So we are replacing the 0 with 1. So it will be 6, 5, 1 from 6, 5, 0 and the sum will be 12. In nums1, we can replace the 0 with 1, right? Let us just replace the zeros with 1. So it will be 3, 2, 1. These are the original numbers and we have two zeros which are replaced with 1. So now the array nums1 is 3, 2, 1, 1, 1. The sum is 8. Now, if the sum of the first array is 8, which is the minimum sum possible because we need to replace the zeros with strictly positive integers. So we are replacing it with 1. So the minimum possible sum for nums1 is 8. Now we know that the updated nums2 array is 6, 5, 1. So the minimum sum possible for nums2 is 12, right? Which is more than 8. Now the thing is, according to both the arrays, nums1 is saying that the minimum possible sum is 8. Nums2 is saying that the minimum possible sum is 12. When we are replacing all the zeros with 1. Now we cannot make nums2 less than 12, right? Nums2 is possible at least 12 or more than that because we can replace this 0 with 2, 3, 4, any number, right? But if we are replacing it with 1, the minimum possible sum here is 12. So according to nums2, 12 is the minimum sum, right? And we need to make sure that the sum in both the arrays are same, equal, right? So we cannot make nums2 less than 12. We cannot make it equal to 8, right? Which is less than 12, but we cannot make nums2 8, right? But we can make the nums1 as 12. One of the combination to make it 12 is the original numbers are 3, 2, 0, 1, 0 in the nums1 array. We can replace the zeros with 3 and 3 and now the sum is going to be 12. So we can make the nums1 array sum equal to 12 and we can make the nums2 array sum equal to 12 as well. This is the minimum possible sum which is equal. Now we can make both the arrays equal to 13, 14, 15 by replacing the zeros with bigger values. But since we need to make sure that the sum is minimum, we are going to make it equal to 12 and that will be the output in this particular scenario. Now let us try to understand this with another example. Example number 2. Let us say the nums1 array is 2, 0, 2, 0 and the nums2 array is 1 and 4, right? Now there are two zeros in the nums1 array. There are no zeros in the nums2 array. So the sum of nums2 array is fixed. We cannot increase it because we cannot replace any values. But the nums1 array, we have few zeros, right? We are going to replace these zeros to make the sum equal. Now let us try to do it. The sum 1, that is the sum of the nums1 array is 4 without replacing. And the zero count in the nums1 array is 2. We have two number of zeros. The sum of the nums2 array is 5, right? We don't have any zero. So zero count in the nums2 array is 0. We don't have any zero to replace it with any other positive numbers. Now we are going to replace the zeros in the nums1 array. Replacing is necessary. We cannot skip replacing any number. So it's not like we can skip replacing this. We need to replace the zeros. So the minimum sum possible for the first array nums1 array is 6. That is, we are going to replace this 0 with 1 and this 0 with 1. So it is 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, which is 6. So the minimum sum possible according to the first array is 6 and the sum of the second array is 5. 5 is fixed, right? Now if this is fixed, we cannot change the sum in the nums2 array, and the minimum sum in nums1 is 6. The sum in nums2 is 5. We cannot make both of them equal, right? We cannot increase this and we cannot decrease this. So we cannot make both of them equal. So we are going to say the output in this scenario is -1. Okay. Now let us understand the solution approach. We need to pre-calculate few things. We need to find what is the sum in the first array and how many zeros we have in the first array. That is sum 1 and 0 count 1. We also need to find the sum in the second array, the sum of the elements of the second array, sum 2, and the number of zeros in the second array, 0 count 2. Now this is a necessary step. We will do it and we will see how these values are very helpful. Now let us understand few scenarios. The first scenario is, let us say the 0 count in the first array and the 0 count in the second array both are 0. It means that both the arrays doesn't have any zeros. And we know that we can only replace the zeros, right? And if both the arrays doesn't have any zeros, it means no replacement is possible. So if the sum of first array and second array is already equal, is already same, then we can return sum 1 or sum 2. Both are same, so we can return any value. But if they are not same, if they are different, we are going to return -1. That is, it is not possible to make the sum of both the arrays equal. Now why I am saying this? See, we have two examples. This is example number 1, this is example number 2. Both the examples doesn't have any zeros in any array. In the first example, this is the nums1 array, this is the nums2 array. The sum of the nums1 is 2 plus 4 plus 2, which is 8. The sum in the nums2 is 3 and 8, which is 11. Now we cannot replace any values, so these are the sums which is fixed, right? And 8 is not equal to 11, so the output is -1. And that's what we are doing here. If the sum are not equal, return -1. But if the sum is equal, let us say this is the first array, this is the second array. So 2 plus 1 plus 2 is 5, plus 4 is 9. 6 plus 3 is 9. Both the arrays already have equal sum, and this is the minimum equal sum possible, right? Because we are not able to replace any values, so we are not able to update the sum of the arrays. So 9 is the output in this scenario. So this is one case when both the arrays doesn't have any zeros. Now let us see the second case. If the 0 count in the first array is 0, that is, we do not have any number of zeros in the first array, but the 0 count in the second array is not 0. It means that we do have few numbers which is 0 in the second array. It means that the replacement is possible in the second array, right? What is the minimum sum possible for the second array? The sum 2 will increase by minimum 0 count 2. That is, we are going to replace all the 0 counts, that is all the zeros, with 1. So the original sum of the second array is going to increase by 0 count 2, the number of zeros we have, right? Because they will be replaced by 1, right? Now after doing the replacement, after increasing the sum of sum 2, if the sum 2 is less than or equal to the sum 1, or we can say that if the sum 1 is more than sum 2, then we can say that we will return sum 1. And we are returning sum 1 because we can make the sum 2 equal to sum 1 by replacing the zeros with bigger values. And let us see an example. Let us say the first array is 1, 2, 4, and let us say the second array is 2, 0, 1. Now in this case, the sum of the first array is 7, right? 1 plus 2 plus 4. The sum in the second array is 3, but we have a 0, right? And we will replace this 0 originally with 1. So it will be 4, right? The sum is going to be 4. Now since we know that 4 is less than 7, we can actually increase this 0. We can actually increase the number not by 1 but by 4, right? And this way this will be 1 plus 4 plus 2, which is 7. So the minimum sum possible is the sum of the first array. That is, the first array is 1, 2, 4. The second array is 2, 4, 1, right? The sum of the first array is 7, and that's what we are going to make the second array equal to. And it is very simple to understand. See, if the sum 2 is less, but we have few zeros, right? So we can replace those zeros with any number. So we can increase this sum 2 equal to sum 1, right? Sum 1 is fixed. Sum of the first array cannot be changed because the 0 count in the first array is 0. So we can only change the sum of the second array. And once we change it with 1, that is, once we find what is the minimum possible sum for the sum 2 array, if it is less than the sum 1, we can increase the number. We can replace it with bigger values. Instead of 1, we are going to replace it with bigger values. So sum 2 can be equal to sum 1, right? And now why are we returning sum 1? That's because sum 1 is fixed. We need to focus on making our sum 2 equal to sum 1. And that's why if sum 2 is less, we will return the sum 1 because we will be able to make sum 2 equal to sum 1. Now let us understand this formula with another example. Let us say the nums1 array is 1, 4. The nums2 array is 2, 0, 2, 0. In this case, the nums1 array doesn't have any 0. So the sum of this array is fixed to 5. The nums2 array does have few zeros. So the original sum is 4. But after replacing the zeros with the minimum number possible, that is 1, the sum is going to be 6. Now in this case, this 6, that is the sum 2, is more than sum 1, right? So we are saying that we will return -1, and that's because we cannot make the sum in the both array equal. Because the minimum possible sum is 6. The minimum we can replace these zeros with a positive number is 1. So we cannot make the sum of the second array less than 6, right? And the sum in the first array is 5 and we cannot change it. So yes, the output should be -1. Now there is another scenario which is actually just the opposite of what we just discussed. That if the zero count in the second array is 0 and the first array is not 0, then we are just going to do the opposite thing, because replacement is possible. So the sum 1 will increase by minimum zeros count 1. That is, the number of zeros in the first array will be replaced with 1 and the sum of the first array is going to increase. And this time we are just going to check the opposite thing, that if the sum of the second array is more than equal to sum 1, then we are going to return sum 2. And the logic is same. See, the thing is, in the given question, you can consider any of these arrays as first or second, because we just need to make both of them equal and we do not have any dependency on whether this is num1 or this is num1, right? So we are going to follow the same formula. In this case, if the sum 2 is more than equal to sum 1, then we are going to return sum 2, because that's what we can make sum 1 equal to. But if it is less, then we cannot make sum 1 equal to sum 2, so we are going to return -1. Now the next and the last chance or the last possibility is the zero count in both the arrays are not 0. It means that there are few numbers in both the arrays which can be replaced. In this case, -1 is not possible. There will always be a sum which we can make both the arrays equal to, and the answer is going to be the maximum of sum 1 plus 0 count in the first array and sum 2 plus 0 count in the second array. And why this formula will be true, I will tell you how. See, this is example number 1. Here the output is 12. Now, if you do not do any replacement, then the original sum of the first array is going to be 6 and the sum in the second array is going to be 11, right? And we know that we need to do the replacement. So after replacement, the minimum possible sum is 8 and 12, right? Because we are going to replace this with 1 and we are going to replace both of these numbers with 1. So the minimum possible sum according to nums1 is 8, according to nums2 is 12. So we know that the answer cannot be less than 12 because we cannot make this array sum less than 12. But what we can do is we can choose the maximum out of it, because we can make the other array equal to this. We can replace these zeros with any number possible, right? So we are going to replace it with bigger numbers so that we can make the sum of this array equal to 12. We can replace this with 5, this with 1. So the sum is going to be 12, right? Our target is to replace these two numbers with any number so that the sum of this array is 12, and we can do it, right? Because we don't have any restriction on choosing which positive number we have to replace this with. So the answer is going to be the maximum of sum 1 plus 0 count 1 and sum 2 plus 0 count 2. And that's the complete explanation of this problem. Let me take you back to the code editor and let me show you how you can code this in Python. We first need to calculate what is the 0 count 1 and 0 count 2. It's simple. nums1.count 0, nums2.count 0. Now the sum 1 and sum 2 is what we need to calculate, and just we need to apply the formula that if the 0 count 1 is 0 and 0 count 2 is not 0, it means that we can update the sum of the second array. So we are going to say the minimum possible sum is sum 2 is equal to sum 2 plus 0 count 2, and after finding the minimum possible sum, if that is less than sum 1 or equal to sum 1, or we can say if sum 1 is more than equal to sum 2, return sum 1. That's the output. Else the output is going to be -1. And similarly, just the opposite case, that if 0 count 2, that is the number of zeros in the second array, is 0 and the number of zeros in the first array is not 0, so we are going to update the sum in the first array. Sum 1 is equal to sum 1 plus 0 count 1. That's the minimum sum possible in the sum 1 array. And if the sum 2 is more than equal to sum 1, we are going to return sum 2, else return -1. There is another case that if 0 count 2 and 0 count 1 both are 0, in this case, if the sum are already equal, then that is going to be the output. Return the sum 1 or sum 2 both are equal, else the output is going to be -1. And the last case is if none of these cases are true, so 0 count in both the arrays are more than 0, both the arrays are going to have some zeros, then the formula is return the maximum of sum 1 plus 0 count 1 or sum 2 plus 0 count 2. Whatever is maximum, we need to return it. And that is the complete code for this particular problem. Let me show you the complete code here. So this is the complete code, and now you can just submit this and you will find that this is actually pretty efficient code for this particular problem. So yes, you can see that the runtime is really good, the memory used is really good. So yes, we have solved this problem. And that's it for this video, guys. If this video helped you to understand the problem and understand the solution as well, then make sure that you hit that like button. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, then make sure that you subscribe to the channel as well, because we are very close to 600 subscribers. So make sure that you make it more than 600.